Hi, Warren Whitlock here with another emerging technologies report. I was thinking about sharing with you how I think I'm going to be able to see a whole lot of things that you and I have not even dreamed of. Why? Because I think we all will. The technology today that's coming out in longevity means that there's a chance to live a whole lot longer. I'll tell you a little bit about my history with this. I was 63 years old. Notice that I never really said that I was middle aged. It had been years of just thinking like I'm kind of in my 40s and going on and living life and lots of things happening. And one day I wake up, I'm 63 years old. And I go, I guess I'm about middle age. Then I read this book by David Sinclair that said that some of the research they've been doing on a compound that was helping people live longer, and it happened to be one I was taking. I may mention some stuff today. I'm not giving you any kind of medical advice, investment advice, anything like that. This extra disclaimer today, we're talking about things that I might be taking, and please do not take your advice from me. If you see something, if you hear something that sounds like a good idea, go and research it. Find out. Ask your doctor if that's the most trusted. It probably is. Try to check online, check with another doctor, see if the first doctor was right, whatever it takes. But usually I try to stick with things that are just going to help me. About the same time back then, I did another thing. Well, first of all, I'll tell you the one I've been taking was called Resveratrol. It's sold as Resveratrol today. There's also something called grape leaf extract, grape seed extract, something like that, back in the early aughts. And there was a bit of controversy about it. A discredited report came out. It wasn't discredited at the time, but a report came out later discredited and said that there was no help from that. And it turned out there is. That taking this resveratrol, while it's not been approved by any government agencies and isn't prescribed by a doctor, and I'm not a doctor, it is something that I have found to be quite helpful in keeping you alive, keeping your cells on a cellular level to have more energy and to grow in the right way and avoid things like cancer. It's not the kind of thing where you're going to take this pill and magically cure something. It's not a drug, it's a supplement. Well, the guy doing that research at MIT, David Sinclair, also was working on something called NAD plus, a capital N, capital A, capital D, and then a plus symbol. And the N stands for nicotinamide, is the first word. The second word is adenine and dinucleotide. And anyway, it's NAD. If you look up NAD plus, the plus is something they added to. There's no such thing as NAD without the plus. Anyway, so NAD, this stuff is like, wow, it's supposed to be stopping aging in tests with rats, and nothing that you can say, ask your doctor. He'll tell you that he's never heard of it. If he has, he'll probably say, we don't know about that yet, because we don't. It's not something that's now regulated and available in every corner drugstore. It is available pretty much health food stores, online shops that do that sort of thing. What you can get with NAD plus is a feeling that you got more energy. That's what happened to me, and some friends that have taken it tell me that by regularly taking this stuff, after a few days, you just feel more alive. And then the other thing is a drug, and it was prescribed to me for type 2 diabetes, and that's Metformin. And the studies on that are just spectacular about what Metformin does, besides the fact that it helps me process the sugar in my blood. Something that helps me even more with that, I don't eat sugar anymore. Those things woke me up to the idea that not only was I questionable about middle age, I may not be to the middle yet, because the same doctor 4 years later, and now we're up to that was 2018 I was telling you about. Then we were up to 2. And I was listening to a podcast with Peter Diamandis, who is great on all sorts of future things. Probably you've heard me mention him on the podcast before. He created the X Prize. He's a medical doctor. He's one that got private space flight started because of the X Prize contest he did. He's currently got an X Prize for the first company to show a biological age difference of 10 years reduction with a treatment that takes less than a year to have happen. Now, in 1 year, you gain 10 years, or you reverse aging by 10 years. The way they look at how to reverse aging is to look at some markers in the cellular structure, and it's been very good at predicting what age your body is at that is not your chronological age of how many days since you were born. It becomes a predictor of how many more days you're going to live. And so, or can be stated as a biological age. And so if you're 50, you can be 30. If you're 55, you can also be 65 in your biological age and actually aging faster than one would say. That sounds a little more like me. And I looked at it. So these guys were talking, and from the book I'd read 4 years earlier, I'd stopped saying I was middle-aged. I said, I'm only about halfway to 100. There's 120. And boy, that's as old as anybody get. Read a whole lot about the idea that there seems to be this wall that we can't go past 120. I thought it was in the book by David Sinclair. It turns out he's talking to Peter Diamandis, and they get talking about, what's your age right now? What do you think you're going to live to? And he said, 150. And Diamandis said, well, me too. I sat up and said, gosh, maybe that should be my age I aim for too. Instantly changed my thinking about everything. And I guess that's the point of today's episode, is the longevity is about how much more active, healthy lifestyle can you get, and how much more good can you do in the world. We talk a lot about all these technologies and all the free time and abundance we're going to have. What are we going to do with it? First of all, we're going to help everybody else get access to it. It doesn't make sense. If I had billions of dollars to spend on living longer, and maybe for my own personal enjoyment, yeah, I'm not against that, but it's not a reason to get excited about it. Getting excited about it is the fact that people who are dying young out of malnutrition, out of just limited opportunity, out of wars, out of disasters, all the things that can happen, cancer that takes somebody in their youth, and all the things that happen, we can be getting rid of. Being early death, no. There's still every possibility for something to go wrong. But I can still walk outside and get hit by a truck. But why plan for that? And when I started planning for 150, and it's been a couple of years now, I realized that, first of all, I can't say I'm middle-aged because I'm not halfway yet. Halfway to 150, 75. I'm not 70 yet. So I got 6 more years till I'm 75. And how much more do you have? Another important thing is, how much longer do my kids have? Do my grandkids have? They're alive today, and they could be taking steps, mostly living healthy, that will, and I'll get to that in a minute, the hard part. But think about the technology coming and the pharmaceuticals, what we will learn about nutrition is going to make it so living to be 150 is a normal thing. Hey, we need to worry about financing that. We need to worry about, what are we going to do? Will we have too many people? And let me give you some answer to that. No, we won't have too many people. And we will find something to do. There are lots of ideas about what to do. But to me, the most exciting is figuring out what I'm going to do once we get to the point that everybody has a place to live, has food and water, and is basically in peaceful times. I don't know that we can end all wars, but let's go for that one. Why would we try for anything less? And have peace and freedom to travel and do whatever you want to do. When I ask you, and I've done this many times in conversations with people and on other podcasts and audiences I speak to, what would you do if you had 100 billion in the bank? What would you do tomorrow? You might stop a certain job, and you might decide to pay off some bills and some things like that. Those are pretty obvious. The number one question I get is, I don't know. I've never thought about it, which is telling. We really should be thinking about, what can we do with the abundance, and how can we get to that abundant state so that we're not worried about what's going to happen next week, and instead can move on and start thinking about what's going to happen next year. I hope while you're listening to the Emerging Technologies podcast, you're going to be thinking about something beyond just what it is going to take to get by the next 10 days. And if not, that's okay too. But the number two answer I get to my question of what would you do if you had a pile of money was travel. And I think about that too. I think virtual reality is going to make it so travel is a lot less fun than it needs to be now. But there's nothing like going to the edge of the Grand Canyon and looking over at the depth of that thing. I know. I went a long time without caring about it, seeing pictures and going, oh, Grand Canyon is pretty cool. I didn't live that far from it. I then got an opportunity to get nearer to it, and I went an hour out of my way to see it. My mouth dropped, and I'm kind of speechless just trying to remember what that was like. And immediately I was talking about when I was going to go again. Well, that was 25 years ago. So I haven't been back. But I still get pictures. I still get that memory, that awe. Will we be able to get that out of virtual reality? Maybe. But even if we can, we'll want to go and see things. Okay, great. Now you've traveled. And now you're going to live another 50 years. What else are you going to do? You're probably going to want to take care of others, which we've kind of covered in the idea that we want to get everybody to the point that they can experience a long, healthy life. And then while you're done working on that or setting up the automation or technology to help those people, what else? You're going to want to spend time with people. And that's a big one. We've talked about that before. Healthcare is mostly paperwork these days. When the doctor can get rid of all the note taking and the AI in the room can monitor everything that's going on and bring him all the diagnostical information that will be able to do far better than any one human and give him all that come to bear on helping you. And he'll be able to do that in the room with you. One study shows that a doctor touching a patient can improve recovery by 30%. That is, they touch your arm, they use a stethoscope on you, they feel your forehead, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just the mere fact that the doctor is there and takes a little bit more time with you can increase the healing. We won't get into why, because I'm not sure. I know I don't understand. I'm not sure anybody does. But what if we multiply that? Or what if we actually spend more time with the care with people that are in need? What does it do for our own souls when we can go out and help other people because we've got things taken care of for ourselves? And I'll tell you right now, if you have a question or reason to succeed, is not so you can go swimming in a pool full of money. It's so you can do more. And I want to live as long as possible to do as much as possible to help other people. And the view, wow, to get to see a world where there's 10 billion robots, more robots than there are people. And we've learned to live with robots among us. And we've learned how to not have that become a war of us against them, which I'm pretty sure is the way it's going to go. Check that episode if you want to see. I think that what we're going to do is spend a lot more time together. We might create some art or do some interesting project of some sort just for the thrill of doing it. If you ever wanted to write a book, you'll have time to write it. Where you need more entertainment, no, the AI is going to take care of all that. The machines are going to be able to amplify whatever we're able to do creatively, do more and better than that. Whatever you look at, if you like looking at a painting on your wall, it can be there. If you'd like to look at a new painting, it will be there. And if it determines that you care about something else, you'd like to see that, but you want the shirt to be blue, it will do that. I guess that's what happened to today's episode. Someone clicked the button and my shirt is blue today. Otherwise, I'm wearing a red shirt. How do you know I'm not? That's the future. How are we going to get there? There's 4 things that are killing us now. And I want to tell you briefly what the cures are without telling you anything you should do or giving you any medical advice in any way, shape, or form. This is just one layman who's been around for a while, read a whole lot of things, put some of these things into practice and done okay. Number 1, heart disease. I can speak with authority of being a man that's made it through 69 years of life with a good heart. And I hope I have a good heart for another 69 years. and just had that tested. I'm doing okay. It's clean living. Is it what I ate? It's certainly not exercise, but what are the things that I do? Well, we'll get to those things in a moment. But right now, cardiologists and researchers are telling us that most of the things that give us heart disease are things we can predict are going to happen, which is why I went to have the test done for myself, and things that we can't feel or can't see any evidence of. And once we take care of ourselves with diet and exercise, and there are some drugs occasionally, depending on your condition, you can get to a point where your heart is healthy and going to keep going for some time. Okay, so that's the heart stuff. There's things that go in with that, the stroke and whatever else. But of course, there's a big one, diabetes. Diabetes can make all this stuff worse. I know. I have adult onset diabetes. I've seen how a little thing can become a large thing. I have trouble feeling anything in my feet. I have neuropathy, and I had a sore that wouldn't heal, and I wound up losing a toe. I can tell you that there are things that can go terribly wrong by all that sugar coursing through your veins. As a general rule, I don't feel like I'm diagnosing to tell you don't eat sugar. It's just what's worked for me. Then the next one is upper respiratory diseases, things of breathing, lungs. That's something that kills a lot of people. We are getting with either vaccines or healthy living. Personally, vitamin D, C, zinc, all the B vitamins are things that help me not get viruses. I've not had a bout with the flu forever. I do have horrible allergies, so hay fever. But the rest of the respiratory system stuff doesn't bother me. Is that my living? Again, I can't tell you to live like me. For one thing, you wouldn't want to have my hay fever. So please, again, don't do as I say. Go check this stuff out yourself. It is possible, though. I've read study after study. I've seen friends with things do better, and I've seen poor people, rich people, everybody a path to get more healthy, which is what's telling is number 2.5 is the mental part of it. Once you decide that you're going to be healthy and nothing's going to take you down, it really does make a difference. How to do that and get out of depression and stuff, something a little bit more than we can talk about here today. But I'm here to tell you that I've experienced this personally and with friends and family, that you can have a change of attitude and it kind of lights you up and life goes better. It's good you're listening to a podcast about abundance and longevity. That's a good place to be. I know what I usually get as a comment when I talk about this, and those buts definitely exist. But what do you do when you got this disease? I don't know. I'm not your doctor. I can't help you with that. I can wish you well and say, I understand about all those things. I just choose not to focus on them. One, I'm not a doctor. Did I mention that? And two, it's ignoring those things that will, not ignoring them, but putting them aside. Me worrying about your illness and you worrying about everybody else's illness is something we kind of put aside and say, let's worry about everybody's health instead. Let's figure out how to positively get healthy. I do the same thing with technology. It's true. Artificial intelligence could take over and kill us all. They don't think it's gonna, but it's possible. I'd be crazy to say it's not. It's possible nuclear bombs could go out and we'd all be gone. Asteroid could hit the earth. I can go outside and get run over by a bus. All those things are possible. But my focus has got to be on how I can be more healthy and how you can be more healthy. So that's number 2.5. Number 3 would be the one I always forget, Alzheimer's, brain disease, dementia, something that takes, as you age, more and more people tend to get it. What they found, though, is there are some predictors of it. There are some habits you can have, different supplements that you may take to cover up something that you didn't eat right before, and mental activity. Listening to the old man ramble about longevity, that might be one, but think about it. Think about what else there is. And I hope you do that when you're listening to this kind of thing. You're not here for me to give you the list of what to do and what to take. No, listen to what I have to say in the philosophy of life and see what matches your thinking and what matches how you want to think, and start thinking about those directions, what you can do and apply in your own life. That's always been the way I do it. I read a whole lot, and it's been for decades and decades of trying to learn and understand these things. And I'm to a point where I feel like I've got some information. And on a few subjects like emerging technology, I can talk about it all day long because I did spend 4 hours yesterday reading and studying the subject. And I'll spend that again today and again tomorrow, on and on. It's my hobby, it's my avocation, it's what I do, and it's quite often my work, my vocation too. And in doing this, I get more and more knowledge about it and find out more and more of the things I don't know. But that's back to number 2.5. Number 3, the dementia. There is a disease that sets in. There are things coming that will cure that. Right now, there's some treatments that are reversing some dementia or Alzheimer's. Again, I'm very bad at technically which one's which, but those kind of diseases, the degenerating of your brain and of your body, and those things are coming. So if we get rid of heart disease, cancer, respiratory diseases, I broke it out and I'm actually going for not only the 2 to 2.5 to 3. I have forgotten the big one, cancer. What caused me to want to make this episode today was some reading on cancer. I talked to a cancer survivor yesterday that didn't find out that she had cancer until she was stage 3. And I said, this stuff's coming. And I said, just what I'm going to say to you, we are going to soon not have cancer to worry about. And she said, and I said, I'll bet at stage 3, that's when you start feeling something. She says, no, I got through cancer. I never felt anything about the cancer. They detected a lump. They decided to do a test. They fixed me and I got rid of the cancer. And I said, that's going to be the horror story in the future, because what's going to happen is the human body produces cancers. You will have some sort of cancer occur in your body. It's when cells reproduce, which is constantly happening inside your body, there are things that go wrong. That's where cancer comes from. Maybe some other cause causing it to go wrong in that way, but always it winds up with a cancer is something that is different about a cell when it reproduces. The body knows to hunt those out and get rid of them and replace them with good ones. With age, becomes tougher and tougher to do. What they found now is that they can sense when a cell has gone wrong long before it's anything can be detected in the stage 1, 2, 3, 4 of cancer. So that before stage 1, they'll be able to intervene, and by using CRISPR or some such technology, a one-time treatment will take care of that. There's a lot of cancers. There's a lot of things that go wrong. There's also a lot of expense in getting it from lab experiments to something that really helps. I am so happy when I see something happen like sickle cell, where it's a defined part of the population that gets it. It affects a lot of poor Black people in the United States here. I don't know about the rest of the world or where it goes, whether it's limited to one race or what happens. I just know that I've seen people with sickle cell and how it destroys their life because it overtakes them, and how painful it is. What a miserable existence that could be. And now to see that there's treatments that with one-time treatment can change something in the cellular structure so that the body won't produce those cells anymore and the disease goes away. Is it perfect? No, it is costly. It's extremely costly right now. We will get to the point where that's not costly. And it will be something that I read about 50 years ago, somebody predicting the future. And it was a longevity expert back then. He was talking about, yes, I've been studying longevity for over 50 years, but the longevity guy said what will happen is that in the future, we also had a diet, low carb diet. Dr. Atkins, that guy, and he wrote a book about longevity. And I'd read the Atkins diet and knew about that fad, and decided to read this other book that he wrote. And it was about, well, how long? He says, sometime in the next 50 years, remember, this was 40, 50 years ago, I read the book. Somewhere in the next 50 years, things are going to change to where instead of a doctor telling you, here, take these pills for the rest of your life, or let's cut you open and cut something out. They'll say, eat this different kind of lettuce and your disease will go away. We would think that would be genetically altered lettuce. I don't know what he was referring to. He just said lettuce. And that has stuck with me, that there is a way to change things. It may be as simple as eating a different lettuce in your salad. Probably not, but it will be some things, some actions that you can take. I've gone through that recently at a wake up call after many wake up calls of having to lose nearly 100 pounds and having to get healthy, having to take care of myself, having to sleep, and the long fight that is mostly over now of getting rid of sugar in my life. I like sugar. I like the way candy tastes, but I was able to, when I needed to, just completely cut that off, stop eating sugar for the most part, completely changed my life. When I got hungry, what I had to do to watch my weight, all sorts of things changed because I did make that big change for me. Would it work for you? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Don't take my advice. But I can tell you that when I stopped eating sugar, it went from me using sometimes a handful of M&Ms as dinner to me eating a regular kind of food and putting off having the dessert, to the point that I even got to where I just stopped having the dessert altogether. And suddenly my body responded and I was better for it. I still have the diabetes. I still have to watch that. I still have other symptoms. I'm an old man. Every time you see the doctor, it's like, how many more prescriptions can I give you? You've got to be careful with that. I don't know what the right thing is. Personally, I succumbed. I thought I would never take drugs on a regular basis. I take a lot of drugs, usually kind of things that are more of maintenance. And that's what scares me, because that means you're going to be taking them forever. Whereas away from the kind of things that I haven't done anything to go into a trance or alter my personality, which might be something I need. At least that's what some people tell me. But there they are. Oh, did I forget the big one? Number 4, since I remembered it, Alzheimer's and cancer, and got up to 4 of them already. That all because of the respiratory. You can say the respiratory goes along with the heart and respiratory, a lot of the same things to take care of yourself about, and a lot of the symptoms intermingle in there. So usually I say heart, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, and then the biggie, the one that's going to affect all of us. And if you've listened this far and you haven't heard your disease, I'm going to give you one I know you have, and it's called aging. And it's that process of replacing cells with new cells. Your body never stops doing that, but it does a little bit poorer job as time goes on. There's a like NAD plus, they say up until about 40, you're doing really good at producing NAD plus in your cells. You need it to stay alive. This is the compound that is a part of your cells. You just can't take more of it. You have to take things that help your cells build more of it. And so from 40 to say about 60, it goes down and then it plateaus. Doesn't stop because you die, but you have a lot less of it. When I started supplementing to build my NAD plus, things got better. Did that level go up? I don't know. I haven't had blood work. I'm not a test subject, not doing research on this. I just read about things and I know what I take myself. And again, don't run out and buy NAD plus and say Warren told you. Go research it. Go talk to your doctor. Figure out if it's right for you. Should you start taking it at 40? I don't know. I started taking it at 63. And if I had it to do over again, I'd be taking it at 40 from what I found about it. Because when I started feeling sluggish all the time, it might have been that extra 100 pounds of weight, but I was feeling sluggish and old and eating M&Ms for dinner. And boy, if I'd have had some of these things to give me more cellular energy back then, I might have been able to make those lifestyle changes a whole lot sooner. So that the one we have to worry about is aging. And when we treat aging as a disease, which is now being come to be seen as a disease, the FDA, the U.S. Federal Food and Drug Administration, has okayed some research on metformin to treat as it treats aging. And the early results, it's a long time study because you have to be 65 to start the study. And then it goes for, I think, 10 years, maybe longer. And so that's underway. But the early results a few years in are, yeah. And the people conducting the research said Yes, we picked this because we knew it was something that we couldn't get bad results to it. So I believe them. They're doctors. I'm not. Don't listen to me. And come along a few years later, they find out that people with diabetes are outliving as a cohort people in other things they do, and they break them out by whether or not you smoke and drink and what kind of trauma your body has had in the past and all sorts of things, male and female. And they don't do anything by age because we're all old in the study. And at that point, it's pretty good. You're going to live longer. You may live longer than a non-diabetic if you're taking this stuff. Those are pills I'm not going to stop taking. They are a drug. They are prescribed to me. But boy, if I wasn't diabetic, I'd probably be asking my doctor why I can't have them. Again, not my problem. I'm a diabetic. Not my advice. I'm not a doctor. A lot of disclaimers in this one, but got to be careful. That is probably the thing that holds back advances in health more than anything, the amount of regulation and amount of procedures that are in place just to make sure things are safe. So we don't want to do anything that would kill anybody. Certainly, no way should anybody take advice from me on anything that might kill you. We want to stay completely away from that. But your doctor tells you something, he might be right, but he's practicing medicine. He hasn't perfected it. He's trying, and that's the most you can say. If he's ethical and he follows safety procedures, then great. He's a lot smarter than me about this stuff. Listen to him or her. My physician's female. It's not that it matters, but anyway, aging is there. It can do it. One of the things is telomeres. You may have heard of that. Telomeres gets a lot of attention. It's the end of the DNA chain, and it seems to be when the cell reproduces, it cuts off some of the telomere to keep track of how many times it's reproduced. And then I don't know what it does at the end of that. You don't die, but they've also found out that it may be an indicator to watch, but that it's not a predictor of much of anything. That's another study that I've read. But next to the DNA, there's a whole lot of other stuff. DNA seems to be so complex, the billions of combinations of stuff that can come from DNA, the trillions of combinations. And boy, we don't understand that yet. And then you learn about RNA. You learn about something that is smart enough to contain the information of DNA so that when the DNA gets screwed up, it can go fix the DNA. And so your cell doesn't necessarily die from having the wrong DNA. And your body can fix that. If it fixes it, then the killer white cells don't come and attack it and eliminate it. But sentience is that process of getting rid of the bad cells and having new cells. And that's going on all the time. And there's another study about that, how to increase it, make it happen at the right times. When you take I'm not taking anything on that. I'm studying that one right now. But as we get these things done, the studies that I've seen have taken a rat to the equivalent of age 90, which is about a year and a half, I believe, and then reversing its age from 90 back to 30. And there seems to be something as a full-grown adult at about 30 years old. If you get anything that reverses aging, it won't be Benjamin Bottoms. It won't send you back to the crib. You're not going back that far. You don't relive your childhood, but you can improve your body so it's healthy like you're in your 30s. Again, I have no idea whether they'll ever get to that for me, but I find that talking about it keeps me alive and healthy and happy working where I can, where just a few years ago, I was looking at why should I bother reading all these books and doing all this studying? This is technology that isn't coming out for 20 years. Maybe I ought to focus on the stuff that's nearer term while I'm still alive and healthy and working. Boy, that was dumb. I stopped that and I feel more alive. I'm into more things and learning about more things happening in the future than ever before, and totally convinced it's going to be abundant. I want to be here to help make it happen. I want to be actively involved in it for as long as possible. I want a longer health span. We're not talking about more years in the nursing home here. We're talking about more active years. And the idea of retirement, I think, is a killer right now. Don't slow down and sit around, because there's only so much traveling and seeing the grandkids that you can stand, and you're going to want to do something else. You want to experience things that are productive, that are helping others. There are so many people right now that need a friend that'll listen to them when they have a problem. Call that whatever it is, whether that's in therapy, in coaching, in just being a friend. That is one of the greatest needs on earth today. And you can do that when you're healthy. You use the emerging technologies to get to the point that you have a good life with some free time. And you're going to want to spend doing things that bring you more joy and bring the world more abundance. And I hope that's what you're aiming for. And that's why you're listening to emerging technology. If not, don't worry. I'm not going to talk about being 150 again for at least another couple of weeks, probably a long time, because the show is mostly about technology. But today I thought I'd insert a little bit about why I'm doing it, where we're going with that. And I want you to come along. Let's have a party of emerging technology podcast listeners 50 years from today. See you then.